Discuss any and all aspects of pop culture that is on our mind at the time. We are your hosts, Tyler
and Chris.
And we said this was going to be the last episode of the year, but we're too excited about the Doctor Who 60th anniversary. So we're going to do a separate review for that afterwards. So keep an eye out. But in this episode, I think we're just going to talk about the podcast, how this year's went, where we're going, and whatever else we get into. So what are your thoughts closing out this year?
Man, it has been a crazy eventful year for me, like on a personal level. And one of those big things was starting the podcast with you. So did I say podcast? Pog. So yeah, we've got, I'm looking at the playlist now. There's a lot of stuff on here. We stayed consistent, throwing in some extra reviews here and there. Wish we'd done more reviews, and we did not get it. Did we have some sort of threshold for people to do something to make us do a commentary for something? Because we talked about doing a commentary so much, and then we did not.
We talked about the threshold, but you were hesitant to give a number for that because the commentary would have been Mac and me.
Yeah. I mean, I'll watch it, and I'll talk during it the whole time. But I'm not going to say I'm looking forward to that. But it could be anything.
Be like your favorite movie, only thing you talk about afterwards.
Yeah, we'll see. I've never seen it. I know enough about it, and I've seen stuff, but I've not seen it in its entirety. So, yeah, I feel pretty good about. We didn't blow up to the bro down point yet, but.
No, but. I guess we should start with the obligatory thanks for everyone that's, followed us this year because, yeah, we're not to that bro down stage, but a lot better than I thought we were going to be.
Yes, and just in the past week, two more of my recent coworkers, Allison and Jaden, have followed, and I found out that one guy that I work with, Jonas, still listens on a semi-regular basis. So thanks to them for being welcomed into the fold. Still want to get Chase in here for our MCU retrospective. He's the other biggest Marvel fan that I know that always makes it out for every film, good or bad. So we haven't been able to nail that down. Chase, of course, being the person who played drums on the theme music that you just heard. For now.
But yeah, I thought it was just going to be like the inner circle and a few close friends and family. So the fact that we got a bunch of other people, it's pretty great.
I thought it was going to blow up in 3 weeks.
I never had that high of ambition.
So how do you feel about the past year?
I mean, for this to be, I don't want to say like a spur of the moment or spontaneous thing, but kind of was.
Yeah, we talked about it for a while. I was talking about wanting to do it with somebody else because that person needed a lot of money really quickly. And I was just thinking of anything. He was selling art, and I said, we could do a podcast. And he was like, what would we even... He was so defensive about it. And it was like, you never shut up. He, like me, never shuts up. And I'm like, anything you want, what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about art, movie? You talk about all this stuff all the time. You're always analyzing things. And then several weeks later, we went back and forth on it. And I was like, I'm not holding a gun to your head. It was an idea. And it probably wouldn't be an immediate thing anyway. I'm just saying, a lot of people. Then you and I were discussing it. And one thing led to another. And then you bought a bunch of equipment really quickly and we're like, I'm ready to go. And I was like, okay, I guess we're doing this. So then we did this. And the other guy who moved away. So I still talk to him very occasionally. But a few weeks later, he was like, I'm warming on the idea. And I was like, no, we're doing this or not. I'm not trying to talk you into it. This isn't like my one life's goal was to be a podcaster. I just thought I talk all the time anyway. Wouldn't it be nice to make some money from that eventually?
Yeah, for me, I was like, what I want to do? Something. And even if it's just to pass the time, or at least that's where the initial thoughts were. And Sarah's just like, why don't you do a podcast or something? I think she was tired of listening to me talk about stuff. I'm like, I don't know. It's like, because I don't want to just sit and talk to myself. I do that enough off the mic. I'm like, who could I get? Because I need someone to bounce off of. And I was thinking you, but I'm like, I don't know if he'd be into it, what he wanted. Then when he said, yeah, I thought about doing a podcast once, I'm like, there it is. There's my in. So I just didn't think about it. Like, if you're up for it, we'll get the equipment, we'll go. And here we are, almost a year later.
Yeah, almost exactly from when we were talking about. We were getting together and having coffee about, once in a couple weeks or a month or something like that?
Through January and February.
Yeah, and I think a little bit in the fall there too. Before we were talking about anything that had to do with that, and talking about magic and science fiction, the two disparate things. So, yeah, I think this has gone pretty well. We're still, I feel like we're still getting our bearing.
Yeah, for sure. But I will say, if this is successful, we worked hard, and all the people that supported us, thank you. And if this is a total disaster, then I blame our significant others for leaving us unsupervised.
That's probably true. So, where do you look back at some of the highlights? If anybody's listening to this, let's say this is somebody's first episode. Wouldn't that be weird? Where should they go back and start from? The beginning and let it play through, just through the night, every night when you go to bed. Listen to us as you're going to sleep and give us those sweet, sweet view counts.
Highlights. Well, I mean, if we're getting better every episode, I really had fun with our last episode that we recorded. It was different, but
I can say, yeah, I think the same. I don't know how people are reacting to that, but I feel like that was that might be eventually, like, if we slip more things like that in, more the direct. I don't know how many personal stories I have like that to tell, but just it felt real, and because it was real. Whatever you may or may not think, those are just things that happen to us. I know myself specifically, personally, I think if Tyler was going to make up a story, that it would probably sound exactly like that, because he may or may not be the best liar that I've ever met. He could be a sociopath. I don't know. I think he's gonna release me from the. I'm gonna get a Christmas break and get to see my loved ones again soon. Yeah, you can't hear the chains because he has noise canceling technology here, but I am still locked in the undisclosed location. That I know we haven't mentioned it in a while, because I thought people are going to get tired of hearing about this. If anyone sees me out and about, it's because I do get out and he captures me regularly. I forgot we did an underrated actors episode.
I feel like a lot of people responded to that one. Although,
Oh yeah, well
that was the episode that I messed the original recording up. I wish I hadn't, because I think that would have been our best episode.
Oh yeah, where we had to record 2 episodes like back to back right then and there. Or no, I came back. I went home, and came right back. I was ready to murder, but that one has 120 views. The one after it, The Prestige of Christopher Nolan, which I think was also pretty good, because we're both fans of Christopher Nolan, but for I feel like different reasons, and we lean into different movies, has 30 views.
I was surprised that one didn't do better.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that our Wes Anderson got more views than it did.
People love Wes Anderson, apparently. I mean Christopher Nolan, but that's...
I guess, at least for our audience, the niche director is more favorable, but...
And one of my, I don't remember how good this was, but I do remember enjoying talking about practical effects, because I love practical effects. 20 views. And then immediately after that, what's your favorite scary movie? Which we went into our foray into having a guest host into Halloween season, jumped back up to 64 views. So
I don't think you got a ton of views, but I did have people message me and say that the Ahsoka wrap-up was one of their favorite episodes of ours.
Wow, and that one also, it's like it tilts back and forth. Because I felt our second episode with Becky was better than the first one, but it has fewer views.
Yeah.
But it has, the Ahsoka wrap-up has very few views, but then it jumps back up to the Doctor Who 60th celebration, and our last one was a little higher than that. So, if you're new here, go back and listen to some of those other things. Again, we're warming up. This is a 1-year warm up. Next year we're coming in hot and strong.
It's still a work in progress.
So, yeah. What are some topics you want to cover? Because, I mean, we went from a lot of randomness. Some things dictated by what was out. You know, like, I think we were going to just talk. for the Ahsoka one, and then it ended up just being about Ahsoka because Ahsoka was out, and I was pretty excited about it. There's still a lot of crosstalk about it, but I felt like we should not let that go. It was hot, it was right then, and it was out. I don't know if we talked about the end of it, but then we went into Doctor Who, and then that led us into, it was horror movies, then Ahsoka, then Doctor Who, then you had the idea for Ghost Stories, which is exactly what I would have wanted to have done to keep the Halloween season going all through the end of the year and the beginning of the year and on in through the rest of next year. But saving that, what are some things that you might want to do completely different from anything that we've done so far? What
completely different?
Or I mean, some things that we haven't done yet. Like, because going from just doing reviews, talking about pop culture, science fiction, fantasy, to real stories about things that happen to us is quite a shift. Maybe not with people just listening to us bullshit on here day after day. It might feel like it's not that big a shift. But for me, it seemed like if you're listening to James and Mason on the Weekly Planet do their very specific routine every week, and then one week you tune in and they're just talking about ghost stories. that would be pretty obvious. I mean, almost like a channel switch.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we have to like go all in for that, but because I like that we're a bit of a variety channel.
For me, that was how do we stay pop culture adjacent, still do something Christmas, but something that we're not then like, oh, this is obligatory Christmas season, so we have to do it. And to me, I'm like, well, we got the Christmas Carol with, Charles Dickens and all that. And so I'm like, yeah, ghost stories. Why not do ghost stories? Because, I mean, that's with pop culture, that's with Christmas tradition, but it's different enough from the normal festivities that I didn't feel like it'd be a slog to get through.
Not at all. I hope that's something that would be one that I think people could start with, end with, come back to again and again. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a game, maybe the word game we talked about at the beginning of, before we started this, I think we talked about, what is that game where you slip in, you have to try and make...
Word Assassin?
Is that what it is? I'm still trying to think of ways that we could make that work without you cheating. Yeah, I know, it's hard, right? Because it's like, it's too easy for you to cheat, and you're like, I know, like, I would figure out a way, so good luck, bruh.
Yeah, as far as things different, I don't know.
I want everybody to notice how he just glossed over that. That wasn't an edit. He just didn't respond to that. So just know if I lose an unseemingly amount of times, it's because of cheating. So yeah, I do. I want other people to say what they would like to see from the channel. I know Becky's going to chime in. She's going to have a dozen ideas. Bring me back on. But what have you thought about, like, just, and not to say like show our hand to everybody, but to throw out some things and maybe see what people might respond to, or would say like, yes, that's a good idea, or no, don't do Mac and Me.
I would like to do more of our reviews.
Yeah.
Because I know for some people, they like the reviews more than the normal show, Sarah, but...
I do. We missed doing Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel was good. It got, I don't know the reviews actually. I think they were really mixed, but it was good. If you don't, it's not going to be freaking Oppenheimer. It's not, it's just a fun action movie. Like, I don't know why everything has to be either the best thing ever, or you want to go to Marvel's headquarters and burn down the house. It's just actors on screen acting. It wasn't bad.
I'm going to climb on the soapbox for a second. I never understood that either. I know sometimes trailers can be misleading, but there's just certain movies. It's like, what did you think you were going to get out of this movie? It's like you were judging this movie thinking it's going to be a masterclass. Like, no, it's just another comic book movie. Did you enjoy the time? Not anything else.
Some of it was straight up ridiculous, and that's the point. There's like this planet that it's been out for a bit now, and I think this has actually been out. There's a planet they go to, and it's almost like Disney fairy tale planet where people, it would feel like this would have fit into Doctor Who to a degree, with some of or one of the stories they would tell about like an off-screen adventure. We went to a planet where people only spoke through song, and it's like, you have to speak in song? Yes, or they won't understand you. Huh, interesting. So, so it's like a musical planet. That seems perfectly plausible for something like that to happen. And then there's a very small dance sequence, and it's dumb, it's ridiculous. But if you didn't notice, the three main stars of this are women. This is a movie, and I'm not saying I'm a guy. I went and I enjoyed it. Some of it was funny. Sam Jackson's great as always. Does it fit right in line with where we last saw him, Secret Invasion? Not at all. It's a pretty strong tone shift, and they were made independently of each other. Does that seem weird in the larger scope? Well, that's a different discussion. I'm just looking at this. That's an MCU discussion versus a snippet one movie discussion. People seem to really hate Brie Larson, and some maybe with good reason, but she did okay in this. I really like Iman, the woman who plays Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan. I think she's great. She carries this thing. The other two actresses do their job, and it's fun. And notice how much fun, I keep saying the fun movie is, because it's not like Guardians of the Galaxy was good and fun. You know, I felt like it was, but we went to see that together, right?
Yes.
Funny. James Gunn's always funny. He knows how he picks people who can be serious and funny, who can make you cry and make you laugh. That wasn't really the case in this movie in Captain Marvel, but it wasn't like, I don't know, like there's some DC films that they're just bad.
Yeah, I think that's where the disconnect comes in, is as far as on the critic side of it, you either have the people that has not read enough of the comic books to know how much weirdness there is. And then you've got the people that have read too much of the comic books and the movies aren't the same. And I think that's why James Gunn's stuff does so well, is because he kind of bridges that gap a little bit. Because he has read the comics, he is familiar with the source material so that he can make it accurate enough to the comics, but can kind of do those tone switches to dial it in to make it fit for the movie.
Yeah, he has an intuitive understanding of what needs to be kept and what needs to be left from the source material, I think, which is why he works so well as a showrunner for these things. Not just, I think he would be a good choice for DC. I think he's going to bring a massive tone shift that is needed at this point. Marvel suffered its greatest loss with not only him, but before that, the Russo brothers. People might forget the Russo brothers are what gave us some of our better Marvel films, and the rollout into, going into Infinity War and Endgame. And that's kind of where it ended. But anyway, that's for a later discussion. I'd really like to get Chase in here to talk about that. Chase, you motherfucker. What's keeping you from coming on? You're not a coward, are you? I would hope not. Honestly, Chase came to me at work and said, just randomly, like 2 weeks ago, if one of us should get out of here before the other one, we should make a concerted effort to hang out with each other outside of here. And I was like, thanks, man. That means a lot to me. Yeah, we for sure should do that. And then we both walked away. And I told my girlfriend about it later that day. And she was like, oh, that's really nice. And I was like, yeah. And then 4 days later, he said, I'm leaving. And I was like, oh, that's why. And then what I said to him was, do you just have something against hanging out with people from work? Like, because it reminds you of work and you know that you're going to talk about work and it's bad. And he just laughed and he didn't really respond to it. So I think that's been the disconnect, is like, it's why it's so hard to do anything with Chase, is because it's like, you remind me of that place I have to go to. But now I think we should probably be able to get him in here and it'll be a little easier, depending on what his schedule is with the new thing, but we'll work it out. He'll have some fun with it, and I think it'll be a good opportunity. I think maybe not consistently, but maybe looking into some other guest hosts. Those were some lively discussions. Like, I think the first one with Becky, I have some harsh critiques for that. I won't do those here because she listens, but she already knows. She listens listened back to it and was like, oh my God, what was I doing? But the second one was really good and got way better. And I felt like that, that's something, it's like you can't get good at something like that. So she already had like kind of a handle on it. But then the second one was more of like an open discussion, and that one felt more fluid and good. So
yeah, I think that would be something fun to do.
And if you ever want to take the day off, we could have Sarah be the guest host, and we could just sit back for an hour and a half and have things explained to us. Yes, stifle your laughter. She will listen to this one. No, she won't.
Yeah, this will be the one she does. Be like, huh? Is this what you've been saying the whole time? No. But yeah, I think now that I'm starting to get a better handle on the equipment and editing side of things, having guests on more regularly would be fun to do. I'm still trying to come up with ideas of like what people want to hear. I'm still figuring that out.
I think one thing I think is like it doesn't have, maybe not consistently, but if we looked at it as not just a TV show, but a TV channel. This is our channel, and we'd have different shows on it. The review shows are sometimes the reviews are separate, and sometimes they bleed into the main show. Maybe we do that. Maybe we have specific retro reviews that are things that would be longer than 2 years prior to when we're recording now. So it would definitely be something older, and we'd worry less about spoilers. Of course, we'll give you spoiler warnings, but it'd be something, like if you're coming into this, you've seen it, or you want to listen to a little bit of this to see what our take on it was, and then go watch it, but don't finish the review show before you watch it. Those could be entire runs of TV shows.
Or maybe Criterion specific. It's like it was deemed worthy for them to save it, so what are our thoughts on it?
Yeah, why isn't Isle of Dogs in there? How do they choose? Like, that's a whole thing that I would like to get into. There's a little mini doc about the Criterion Collection, like how DVD sales are. I cannot remember the guy's name, but it's on YouTube. I watched it a couple years ago. It was really informative. DVD sales across the board going down a lot. Like Best Buy is not, I think, famously not going to carry them anymore. A lot of places are downsizing them, except Criterion Collection sales keep going up. People still want their bonus features. People still want special documentaries, things you can't get anywhere else. It's not always on YouTube. It's not always, you can't just click and find it, or even you can't pirate. I mean, you probably can, but who's going to pirate a commentary? Like, oh, I want this Scott Pilgrim with one of the 3 of the 4 commentaries, like, which nobody's going to put that on. I don't know what pirate sites are called these days. Is the Pirate Bay still a thing? Is LimeWire a thing?
I don't think so.
Okay. Somebody, I mispronounced LimeWire, so if you could correct my spelling on LimeWire and tell me if LimeWire is still a thing.
I think LimeWire died.
Damn. Well, don't tell them that. They have to comment down in the comment section and hit like, share, and subscribe. And thank you.
Has there been a single episode that we've actually stayed completely on topic?
Nope. Well, maybe I want to say the Indiana Jones one, or maybe the Wes Anderson one. But there's an argument to be made that tangentially anywhere you go from one of those topics can come back to it.
Maybe that's what our episodes are. They're all like 10 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
That is the tying force to all of them.
I got down to I'm one degree away from David Bowie, as close as I can ever get. I shook hands with Donnie McCaslin, the band leader for the band that David Bowie used on his final album, Black Star. And he was super, he's like one of those guys that's like really like overly cheerful constantly, that like you're like, it's uncomfortable. And it's just one of those like really, really white guys. It's like, hey guys, thanks for coming out. I really don't know what to say, but this has just been so great. I'm not making fun of him. That's just what he was like. And so I was right there in the front in this really small loft above this bar that had him and his group. And I stood up. We got to sit on a couch. That's how close we were. When he was done, I mean, he's like within touching distance. He sets his sax down. He had said what he was going to say. A lot of people started mingling. I stood up and just stood there just right in front of him. So all he has to do is turn around. He turns around, and I was like, "Can I take a photo with you?" And he was like, "Sure, man." And shook hands with him, and I said, "1 degree away from Bowie, and that's as close as I'll ever get." And he just gave me this knowing, sad look, and I was like, "It's amazing to meet you. Your set was awesome." And yeah, so it was a really cool moment. Bowie is so important to me, and has been. There's this guy that I see at Rebel, the local place I've been performing magic at in Berea, Kentucky. He does Taylor Swift songs exclusively, and sometimes does little dance routines to them. I know, right? And I think he's like 25. He's older than he looks. He looks really young. I thought he was closer to 20. I think he might be in his mid to late 20s. And I wanted to say to him one night, because I recorded him the last time I was there, I wanted to say, like, I went through a phase too one time. About when I was 15, I got into David Bowie. I'm 42 now, so I'll let you know when it ends, but everyone else thinks it was a phase. So keep at it. Whatever your thing is, don't let anybody stop you.
I did think of one thing that we need to do that would greatly improve the podcast. We need to make one of those Sarah McLachlan like videos.
Through the eyes of an angel?
Yeah, to get people to donate money. So
Yeah.
So that we can get you out of your retail job and so we can do the podcast.
Yes.
For just the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can help this poor child escape retail hell. And talk nonsense to a microphone.
I did have my first paying gig as a magician. I didn't invite you because it was a private event. Otherwise, I almost just said, "Come help me," so that you could be there. But it was such a stressful day anyway, preparing for that. And only one thing messed up, but I was able to turn it around and salvage it without the person knowing it. I just turned it into a slightly different effect. So, and the guy was so happy with it that he was the only person who tipped me afterward. So I was pretty proud of myself for that one. Pretty pissed initially that I forgot to set the effect up. I don't want to give anything away, but that's my life right now. I'm writing scripts. I'm performing magic and mentalism and writing several of those shows, to be specific shows, doing this podcast. I still work 40, sometimes more than 40 hours a week dealing with that brand of bullshit. And if any of my coworkers are listening to me, thanks for putting up with me. I appreciate you. If you're cool, if you suck, go yourself. Bleep every other word of that out, and they can make of it what they will. So yeah, it's too much. And also, I'm not a workaholic. I would like to stop and rest at some point. My vacations are largely spent figuring out the next preparing for the next thing. So yeah. All right, yeah. So we'll make that video and post it on. Oh yeah, we're on YouTube. We can post it right here.
I am also trying to think of specific content that would be Patreon worthy. It's like, what do I think people would actually pay for?
OnlyFans?
I hope we don't get to that point yet. I wouldn't pay to see this.
Well, my tastes are a bit different, but I agree. Well, all right. Do you have anything else? Depending on, do you think this might come out? When do you want to put the Doctor Who special out? Or the Doctor Who,
I think the Doctor Who will come out after this.
Okay. So that, and then technically a little bonus, and then we're going to take a little break.
Yeah, we'll come back sometime after the new year, once we get everything sorted out.
So that, not a big hiatus, but if you don't see us, this is a planned break.
Yeah. But, subscribe, follow us on social media so you know when we do come back.
Yes, because we'll post some stuff.
Yeah. That's another thing I would like to...
More on Instagram.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about that lately too. Because the sleep paralysis demon version of you was pretty good. And then I didn't come up with anything else. I'm so busy.
One thing before we go. Chris has been nice enough to, agree to do this podcast, even though, like we said, kind of impulsive. But as Chris said, he's been working on a screenplay, and I've been one of the few people lucky enough to read some of the drafts. But he thinks that it does sound like he's a little close to Hamlet.
In some places.
Yeah. So I want to read an excerpt from his script. And You tell us if it sounds too much like Hamlet, so he can, make the edits, make the decision. Now, this is from the third act, but so you might be a little lost, but I feel this gives a good indication of the character and the story. So here we go. To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or take arms against the sea of troubles, and by opposing in them to die, to sleep, no more, and by sleep to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks, that flesh is air, to 'tis a consummation, devoutly to be wished, to die, to sleep perchance, to dream. Aye, there the rub, for in the sleep of death what dreams may come, when we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. There's the respect that makes the calamity of so long life. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time? The oppressor's wrong? The proud man's... I don't hear it. But you guys be the judge. You tell me. Does that sound too much like Hamlet?
I think it's genius.
Well written, for sure. Is it Hamlet? I don't know. I don't think Chris is a Shakespeare. Yet. Yeah, to be fair. But let us know. What do you guys think? Does it sound too much like Hamlet? I'm not hearing it, but we'll see.
I've moved on to other things. It's really Hamlet mixed with Macbeth, I think.
Macbeth downstairs too.
You want to run back down and read some of that?
I think I've done my running for the rest of the year.
We'll get Patrick Stewart next time.
Yes, definitely send the Patreon so we can get Patrick Stewart.
Yeah. Or Peter Capaldi. I think Peter Capaldi might be a realistic... Yeah, probably not.
He at least has the accent for proper Macbeth.
Yeah, I meant just get him on the show. Just let him just talk. Let him say anything he wants. Any controversial thing. So yeah, you guys want Peter Capaldi on the show? Then give us some money so that we can have him click a button on Zoom or something and talk into our thing.
It's like, no, we need to raise enough money that he is in my kitchen.
You mean the undisclosed bunker location?
Yeah, bunkers have kitchens.
Wait. Okay. So on to Doctor Who?
Yeah. I think we'll wrap up this discussion here. We won't go any further. We've rambled enough. So just be on the lookout for our Doctor Who 60th anniversary review. Be sure to like, subscribe, so that you know when we come back from the break. And to anyone that's made it this far in this episode and with us this year, thank you. Every like, every comment, every new subscriber has been wonderful. We hope to see everyone back and get even more. So
yeah, post it on your Facebook. That's what share means. Send it to somebody you think would like it or that you want revenge upon, who would specifically not like it, but give us money. So post it on your Instagram, post it on your Facebook. Just send it to somebody and be like, hey, what do you think about these guys?
Just be nice when you do comment. But to everyone, have a happy and safe holidays and a happy, safe new year, and we'll see you after. See you.